Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you guys about the soft cap on legendaries. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, in the past few days, there's been a lot of discussion regarding how legendaries are dropping for players that had more than 4 of them. The theory was that after you have received 4 legendaries, the bad luck protection system, and the way that's going to work, let me just explain this real quick, is that every single time that you loot a chest, or you loot a boss, or you loot anything that has a chance to give you a legendary and you don't receive one, that increases your chance of getting a legendary from the next chest or the next boss that you loot, until of course you finally get a legendary, and then that bad luck protection system is reset back down to 0, and you go back all the way up until you get another one, and it just repeats over and over. And that's kind of what people thought, but after players started to do like over 1,000 Mythic Plus dungeons, and they were progressively getting like maybe 1 legendary every 100 dungeons, after the 4th one, there was no real people weren't getting them at that same rate, and so people were trying to realize and trying to discuss and trying to come up with a theory or a hypothesis on why that's happening. And basically what people had kind of discovered, I guess, is that players, after they got their 4th legendary, the bad luck protection system that Blizzard had in the game was no longer going into effect. Now, the problem with something like this is that you can never really know, right? Because you don't know what the system is, and there are a lot of people, especially people like me, I'm very, very skeptical. And so whenever I see this, even though there's a preponderance of evidence, I still am skeptical, and I still wonder, is this just an unconfirmed hypothesis? What exactly is this? So basically, there was a lot of discussion about this, and Blizzard actually came out today, Ian, and shout out to Ian, fucking Watcher, making this post on Thanksgiving because people are pissed off about legendaries. Like, that's amazing. I'm so happy. Like, this guy is doing the Lord's work. But it turns out that this is actually true, which is really funny. And if you guys remember at the beginning of the expansion, people thought that if somebody got 1 legendary, it would increase their chances of getting a 2nd legendary. And of course, those people were, oh, you're conspiracy theorists, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And it turned out that that was actually true too. So the funny thing about this, it's not funny, is that every bad thing that people have thought the legendary system was a part of has turned out to basically be true. It's ridiculous. So Ian had confirmed that after 4 legendaries had dropped for a player, the bad luck protection system for that player no longer went into effect. And also they have changed that. As of now, there is no longer that soft cap on legendaries, which is a very, very good thing. And this has brought up a lot of discussion that I think that a lot of people have had ever since the legendaries were introduced into the game. Now, from my perspective, I thought that the legendaries would be okay whenever they were announced, as long as players were able to target them in the same way that you were able to farm reputation for even going all the way back to the Cenarian Circle so you could get that trinket from them back in Celthius and Vanilla, right? So there is a very, very long precedent of players being able to farm towards an item and actually receive that item, and that's the type of gameplay that I prefer. I like to actually have a goal in mind and be able to work consistently towards that goal, right? So whenever that was introduced and they said you were able to target the legendaries, I said, okay, this is going to be a great system. And then pretty soon, right before Legion came out, they changed their mind on that, which has frustrated a lot of people. And so I kind of wanted to talk about this legendary situation in specific regards to the soft capping of legendaries and why this was a really bad idea and why it kind of worries me, because basically somebody made this decision, right? Somebody made this decision to soft cap the legendaries on 4. I'm very glad that they overturned it, but until we really see a design philosophy change, it worries me and it makes me nervous that we'll see more changes like this in the future. So basically what could happen is if a player was playing, let's say they were playing healer or they were playing tank, one or the other. Sorry, let me turn off my refrigerator here. They were playing healer or they were playing tank, and for whatever reason they wanted to respec, or one of their DPS specs, let's say you're a fire mage, and the fire mage bracers, I believe, are getting nerfed in 7.1.5, and because of that, let's say, I don't know this, but let's say arcane mage is now better, right? So if you want to switch over to arcane mage, you really can't even do that if you've got 3 or 4 legendaries for fire mage, because there's just no way really for you to be able to have a chance, really a legitimate chance of being able to get legendaries in the same way that you were able for the fire mage. So this all started out whenever an Exorcist raid member, Exorcist is a very top-end guild, it's the best Russian guild, they actually got the world first on Mythic Xavius, made a post talking about a bunch of different of the struggles of top-end, high-end, world first raiding, and some players in their guild and some people that were in the high-end raiding scene, actually after they had gotten 4 legendaries, and they didn't get the ones that they wanted. They made entirely new characters in order to try and make those 4 roles a little bit better. So I think at this point, Blizzard is looking at things from, I guess, like a very, very narrow perspective, and I really hope that the more people that see how many problems this legendary system has created, maybe Blizzard will think twice about implementing something like this in the future again. I really haven't seen any system in the game in the history of my time playing that's been as contrived and as backwards as the legendary system in Legion. I honestly don't know really what they were thinking whenever they were doing this. So I do know what they're thinking. They're trying to get people a gambling feeling. Legion, in a lot of ways, in modern gaming, very, very unfortunately, has become centered around giving people that feeling, the variable reinforcement schedule, that psychological feeling, that psychological high of like gambling and getting things randomly, right? And as a player, whenever I started playing WoW, one of the big things that I really liked about video games is that whenever you, like in life in general, there are people who get ahead by dumb luck. And obviously in games that happens too, but there's a lot less of it. And I felt like whenever I played a game like World of Warcraft that I was much more in control of my destiny. And having a legendary system like this that punishes players for basically like picking one spec and then switching over, and there's no real way they could know because, like, let's say something just gets nerfed or buffed, right? There's no way really you could know that ahead of time and plan for that, right? Especially since they didn't say anything about the soft cap to begin with. And, I felt like I was more in control of my own destiny and my own success. And the more things that they add into the game that are like this take that control away and make me feel less connected and less motivated to really try whenever I don't really have a direct connection or correlation, whatever. Kind of put those two words together. A direct correlation between my effort and my reward, right? So I feel that a lot of people are also getting to that same point, and I really hope that Blizzard takes that in consideration. Ultimately, I think that the legendary system is not really that bad. It's just incomplete. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So I think that if they took everything in the legendary system that they have right now, minus like the soft caps and the, if you had one, you get another one really quickly, like just the dumb stuff. If they took all of that stuff and they did nothing with it, everything was just fine, and they also added more deterministic factors that you could get these legendaries if you played, you're like super, super serious about something. Like, so if you completed like a Mythic plus 15 dungeon, one player in the group there would guaranteed there's a guarantee that some player in the group will get a legendary out of the chest. And so that's going to allow people to be able to basically farm out these legendaries, and the super competitive players that are so focused on min-maxing and everything will actually have a way to where they can reach those goals without necessarily affecting the whole population of the game, the other 99.9% of players who just want to play, and getting a legendary out of the emissary box is the most awesome feeling for them. They like that a lot. I don't really want to take that away from them per se. I don't really think it's good for the game, but at the state that we're in now, I don't really think they should just get rid of that. But what they should do is add in more deterministic rewards through harder content. So like if you're a 2700 player, maybe you should get a legendary out of your box every single week, and in PvP, if you do like 3s or 2s or RBGs or something like that, after you do your 10 wins, you guys, I think a lot of people know how that works. Or if you kill like Mythic Xavius or Mythic Helia, you get maybe 2 or 3 into the raid. And that way players who are very, very hardcore and very serious about playing will still have a way to basically be able to pursue these rewards with some level of surety. But players who don't really have that ability will still be able to achieve these legendaries and get them in the same way that they have now. I think if they added something like that in, I would be very happy. I would like that a lot. I don't really have a problem with like players being able to get things because they're lucky, right? I mean, like, that's not really something I really like a lot, but at the same time, as I said, I can't really just delete the system, so I feel like if they added more rewards into the game and more deterministic factors into legendaries that are harder to do, like 2700 or like killing like Mythic Xaviers and Mythic Helia, or a plus 15 Mythic plus dungeon, I think that giving those incentives will not only make the players happy, but also get people who are kind of in the middle there, who are like kind of serious, but not really all that serious, a reason to actually like push forward and try and get to those rewards so they can have a determined legendary chance. And I feel like that would make basically both parties happy. I don't really see anybody who would lose out because of this. And you could make the argument that obviously once players get all the legendaries, then they're going to be done playing the game. But let's be honest, guys. I mean, like, if somebody's going to be doing a Mythic plus 15 dungeon every single week and they're really serious about it, like, I mean, you've got to give somebody an end in sight, right? I mean, to me, it seems kind of ridiculous that you just basically can play over and over and over and never even have a chance, right? So I think that giving people something to go for and something to aim for, while at the same time still having the random elements for the rest of the players, is going to make everybody happy. I really hope that they do something like that. I don't know if they will, but hopefully this is a learning experience for them, and we won't see as many of these systems like this in the future. It's been a really big disappointment to me, the way that they've handled the legendaries throughout the expansion. I think it's probably been the worst thing about the expansion. Probably the legendaries have been probably the worst thing about the expansion. And I think that outside of that, the expansion would be a whole lot better. It creates a lot of discontent and animosity between players. I don't really see a lot of good things that come out of it, honestly, besides that gambling feeling that is very disappointing that's been creeping so much into modern gaming. So anyway, guys, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. I know that there have been some people who have gotten 5 legendaries or whatever, or, there's a million different ways that people have experienced this, but I think that really them getting rid of the soft cap was a really good idea. I do really appreciate it. I do also really appreciate Ian communicating with us, even though it is Thanksgiving, and I'm really glad that we can have that. So anyway, guys, I'd like to hear what you guys think, but anyway, that's pretty much all I've got. So thank you for watching, and like, comments, and subscribe.